And welcome back to Who Would Win. Today's Who Would Win will be a relatively quick one, and it comes to us from, if I remember the name correctly, Mario Luffy 0630, who asks the question, who would win a fight? The current Team RWBY, which if I'm not mistaken is the characters we have here, versus Part 1 Naruto. And to me, this, unlike the first time where it was adult Naruto versus the RWBY characters, this one kind of seems like the opposite end of the spectrum. If you've not seen my video on that one, then you'll know what I mean. So Naruto, Part 1 at his strongest, could make thousands of shadow clones if he had to. He also had the Rasengan at his disposal, could summon giant toads, and had the Fox's Chakra he could rely on. To go all the way up to the One Tail if he had to. That was about it. Naruto is crafty. He's not like book smart, but he's not dumb. He's just a hyperactive kid, really. He's decent in a fight. But the problem I immediately see here with this fight is all four of these characters are highly trained, even though they make mistakes, especially in the early series. If we're looking at the current team, though, highly trained combatants trained to take down like monsters in their world. All of their weapons aren't just melee weapons. Yang's gauntlets aren't just gauntlets. Weiss's sword isn't just a sword. I don't remember what Team RWBY. Hold on. What weapon the other one? RWBY's scythe isn't just a scythe. I can't remember the name of the other character. Blake? Okay, who? Blake. Blake Belladonna. Or Belladonna. What's her weapon? I'm actually just curious on that myself. What is her weapon? Point being, go away ad. There we go. And she's got cat ears. Oh, joy, meaning she's not technically human, or she's only half human. What is her weapon? Let me see here, because they're not all melee weapons. They're also firearms, which do not exist in the Naruto world. She has her Gamble's Shroud, dual wielding the sword and she. Oh, it's okay. It's a dual wielding. It's a sheath sword, but yeah. They also all have their semblances. Weiss's allows her to kind of do some weird time shenanigans.
Oh, did you find that?
Yeah. Freaking ads are just something chiming in. Yang's, I know, does like a energy increase, just increases her abilities overall. Her ability, Blake's ability is Shadow to create basically shadow clones of herself. And that, in theory, could be used to combat Naruto's abilities, but Naruto's clones would definitely outmatch hers in terms of sheer number. RWBY's semblance is... Where is RWBY's semblance? Yep. Petal Burst, allowing her to dash with inhuman speed in whatever direction, often leaving a trail of rose petals in her wake. This, however, is, of course, at the cost of auras, so RWBY can't rely on it very long. Her semblance allows her to disassemble herself at a molecular level and reassemble herself at a chosen location, negating her mass. With practice, she has proven to be able to do the same with anyone she's in contact with, which makes her actually a very powerful individual. And then because they're all firearms, they shoot dust. They don't actually shoot bullets, but the dust all have it's ammunition of some general kind. So if Naruto would be, if this group faced off with Naruto would probably be the aggressor, thinking they're enemy shinobi, make a bunch of clones, and come at them. Unfortunately, speed and technique-wise, they're all just going to take out Naruto's clones without any difficulty. He'd have to really create a massive amount of them for it to really be a problem for them. And even then, they have long-distance weaponry. They can move at far greater speeds than base Naruto can. So they're going to just wiping out his clones pretty quickly, kind of like Kimimaro did. So Naruto's going to have to try to get in with Rasengan, but unfortunately, he's not going to be able to catch one of them off guard simply on the grounds that the four of them together are going to be able to cover each other's weaknesses fine. So maybe he summons Gamabunta. Now, Gamabunta's pretty large, or he summons a toad. Trying to anyway. I don't know if Naruto really would, but if he did summon a toad, most of the toads, especially the more powerful toads, are much larger than the majority of creatures that you see in the RWBY series that I remember. So it would pose a bit of a challenge to him, but ultimately they still target Naruto. So it really comes down to Naruto using the one-tailed fox cloak. Now, at that point, it does become a bit of a problem for the RWBY team because Naruto is probably more savage and a lot more powerful than most of the creatures that they face up against. Add on the fact that his chakra does act as a bit of a shield slash armor for physical attacks and energy based attacks, and the fact he can stretch out chakra arms, even his former Sengon with one hand at that point, it does make him a more difficult opponent to deal with. That being said, because he's already in the because he's not necessarily the what's the best way to put it? Most refined fighter, and Kurama's chakra does cause him to lose a little bit of his, sanity as a person. It is likely that Naruto will lose a sense of reason, and they will be able to capitalize on that. Will it be difficult to put Naruto down when he's in the one-tailed form? Yes. However, Yang would easily be able to just, pound him into the ground for a little while. Then RWBY comes in. RWBY's semblance alone is going to make it very difficult to actually hurt her. Weiss comes in, is able to ultimately use her abilities, the glyphs. Then Belladonna comes in using Shadow Clones to counteract a bit of Naruto's. He wouldn't be making clones at that point, but Naruto's, arms to some degree actually keep his attention scattered. I do think Team RWBY would be able to bring down a Part 1 Naruto without too much difficulty. Really, the biggest problem and hurdle they'd have to overcome is him in the one-tailed fox cloak. Ultimately, though, I would go Team RWBY. What's your thoughts, though? Team RWBY or Team Naruto? Put me in the comments below and let me know. This was a quick one. I didn't really want to focus too much on it. I'm not overly familiar with RWBY, but I do know enough about it to know that Naruto probably would have lost this fight. Is there a way Naruto wins? Yeah, I think if he's in a one-tailed form, if he summons like Gamabucha on top of one of them, he might crush them. And if he goes into the one-tailed form, he would be, I think, ferocious enough and durable and strong enough and fast enough to possibly tear through their ranks and probably kind of just tear them all apart. But I do think it would be difficult for him to ultimately take them all down as a group because they're all going to be able to cover their bases because they work together as a team a lot of the time. We're talking about Team RWBY, and they work together pretty well. So ultimately, I go Team RWBY. Who do you got? Naruto Part 1 or Team RWBY? Let me know in the comments below. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you folks next time. Hit that bell if you want to be notified. And as always, if you want us to review something, put it in the comments below, and we'll do a review at some point. Later.